your knowledge. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If you would look at Jackson District Exhibit 5, and let me ask you, if you have seen that letter from Washington staff returns for the Jackson School District?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're aware that according to that letter, they believe that the deficiencies relating to 10.5 will be resolved as of June 30th of this year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you have any reason to believe that that will not happen?
I have no reason to believe it will not happen. However, the Department of Education does not have the authority to remove that deficiency until we're notified by the Office of the State Auditor.
No, ma'am, I didn't ask you about removal, but my question was, you had any reason to believe that the district will not have 10.5 cleared by June 30th of this year?
No.
So that would only leave the special education issues under 23.3.
That's correct.
No further questions.
Can step down. Any redirect?
Dr. Sanders, what will be required to remove the financial violation from the accreditation record?
The Office of Accreditation will have to be notified by the Office of Internal Accountability, which receives reports from the State Auditor's Office that issue of non-compliance is no longer evident on the year-end audit reports.
I have no further questions.
You can step down. Thank you. Next voter, your next witness.
Call Ann Moore.
Somebody get her in.
Please state your name and occupation.
Ann Moore. I am the State Director of the Office of Special Education for the Department of Education.
And what are your responsibilities related to your
The primary role of the Office of Special Education is to enforce the state and federal requirements for serving students with disabilities in our public school system and state agency schools.
Would you tell the
Can I
commission?
ask that the mic be moved a little bit closer?
Is that better?
Much better.
Thank you.
I think maybe Kathy went out here. I think that's
I think that's working good.
Ms. Moore, would you tell the commission about Exhibit C6?
C6, oh, okay. C6 are our state policies for serving children with disabilities. Our policies mirror IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and we're operating under the amendments passed in 2004. So our state has adopted all of those federal regulations, and in certain sections have included certain state-specific information.
And this is a board-approved policy.
This is Board-Approved Policy 7219.
What are the general provisions under this policy regarding services to disabled children?
Okay, the primary regulation that we're dealing with is free, appropriate public education. Of course, you know, it's a very large document, so there's lots of rules and regulations and procedural matters that have to be addressed. But the heart of IDEA is to ensure that all children with disabilities receive a free, appropriate public education. and that is achieved through the implementation of the IEP for each child, which is individualized and is developed by the IEP committee.
Along with the individualized education and the IEP, what other provisions are provided in here that dealt with your evaluation of the Jackson Public Schools?
Okay. It also includes state responsibilities, state requirements for monitoring compliance with all of the public schools and state agency schools, and also the enforcement requirements. Ultimately, the state is responsible for ensuring that all children do receive the free appropriate public education.
We'll look at Exhibit C7. And tell the commission about this exhibit.
Under section 300.600, this is the section that outlines the state's monitoring and enforcement requirements, and it's referred to as the general supervisory authority of the state.
What are the responsibilities of the state regarding monitoring?
To monitor local district compliance with all the rules and regulations, and to not only identify non-compliance, but also to assist districts in resolving any issues of non-compliance.
What are the responsibilities? Well, if you could tell specifically about the monitoring responsibilities in paragraph E of 300-600, 34 CFR section 300.
Okay. Under section E, then we are required to monitor, report the non-compliance, and then when we have identified non-compliance, then we also have the obligation to ensure that compliance is reached as soon as possible, but in no case more than 1 year from the official date of notification to the local district.
Did you receive a report regarding non-compliance regarding the federal regulations regarding special education?
We did.
And what was that report?
The report of findings and decision identified 10 major areas of non-compliance, and all of those related specifically to free, appropriate public education.
And was this a finding made by the Office of Special Ed?
Yes, we had a monitoring team that was assigned to conduct that evaluation based on a state complaint that was filed with the Office of Special Education. So we followed our state complaint procedures and our monitoring and reporting procedures.
And when did that occur?
The specific, which item has the timeline? Yeah, I have it. The state complaint was filed September in 2010.
What exhibit are you reading?
I'm behind tab 12, exhibit C12. We conducted the on-site investigation in October, and we issued the reported findings in 2010. And under the federal requirements, we're required to investigate and have a decision within 60 days. So we followed our timelines.
And based on the findings regarding not providing free appropriate public education children, what actions did the Office of Special Education take?
We issued an official report of findings, and we also, due to the number of violations and the systemic nature of the issues of noncompliance in the district, We also assigned a technical advisor to assist the department as well as the district to address the non-compliance.
And did you write a letter to Dr. Sargent regarding the technical advisor?
Yes, we issued a report, and I believe that the technical advisor was addressed in that initial report.
If you look at Exhibit C22.
C22. C22.
Is that the letter that you sent to Dr. Sargent?
Well, that's a follow-up later, further on, because this started in 2010, and there was Lonnie Edwards was the superintendent at that time, so all the initial correspondence was with Lonnie Edwards as the superintendent, and then later in 2011, Dr. Sargent was appointed as the interim superintendent, so then all of our communication from that point forward would have been to Dr. Sargent.
So from that November of the 2011 when you were, 2010 when the report was initially issued, what involvement were you having with the district?
Okay, initially, let me go back to the timeline under C12. December 21, 2010, we received the district's first response to the findings and decisions, and with that, an improvement plan from the district. In January of 2011, we scheduled a meeting with the district administration, with the department, and with the technical advisor to develop a plan to move forward to address the non-compliance and to implement the corrective actions.
And over what period of time have you worked with the Jackson Public School District and their Office of Special Education regarding these areas of non-compliance?
We've worked with them continuously throughout this process, with phone calls, emails, follow-up visits, and official correspondence.
Did the department provide technical assistance?
Yes, we did.
And
What?
and was the technical advisor, who were the technical advisors?
Okay. When we made the decision to assign a technical advisor, because of the size of the district and the systemic nature of the findings, we wanted to have a team that was able to work with the district. We did not feel like one individual person would be sufficient to address this on a district-wide basis. So we contracted with Fluency Plus as the technical advisor.
And are they still working with the department and for
Yes.
assistance to the
Yes.
Jackson Public School
Yes.
District? And was there a subsequent report issued after the 12-month timeline?
Yes, there have been several revisions to the improvement plan to address all the issues and make sure that we have a plan that speaks to all the areas of non-compliance, and other follow-up visits and follow-up visit reports, yes.
Could you tell the board about Exhibit C9?
C9 is from the United States Department of Education, Office of Special Education. It's referred to as Memo 0902, and it provides guidance to states on how to evaluate and determine compliance.
And what were the specific issues addressed in this advisory letter?
That the state has a greater obligation to look further than just the initial reason for the non-compliance. That we are obligated to not only look at the cases that were cited originally, but also to follow up with additional data to determine if the district is meeting compliance, and carrying that over to all areas that need to be addressed.
What action will the review does the U.S. Department of Education take if there's no compliance for over the 12-month period?
Well, when we have a district that fails to resolve all issues of non-compliance within 12 months, then that becomes a non-compliance issue for the state. Under the monitoring requirements where the Office of Special Education monitors the states, we are monitored under the 20 indicators that have been established for state compliance. Indicator 15 deals with general supervision, and that report that we have to prepare every year. Indicator 15 would include all the districts visited, the number of citations issued, and whether or not all citations were resolved within 12 months or not.
Can you tell the Commission about Exhibit C10?
C10 is an additional memo of guidance from the Office of Special Education to the states. The main purpose of this particular memo was to ensure that all states understand and that states are communicating to local districts that the response to intervention process cannot be used to hinder or prevent students who may have a disability from being referred for services under special education.
What are the enforcement regulations for the state? What actions at this time, after 12 months of non-compliance, do the regulations provide for the state today?
Under the federal requirements, there are specific sanctions that include providing technical assistance, which we did initially to provide a technical advisor, and we did that at no cost to the district. We did not want that to be a punitive measure. Also, after 12 months, we are required to report the continued non-compliance to the Commission on School Accreditation and ask the Commission to take action at that time. We also can direct the use of the funds for the district. We could recommend to withhold part or all of the funds for the district. We can require a corrective action plan to be submitted to the State Board of Education to have State Board authority and oversight over implementing those corrective actions and setting timelines to resolve the non-compliance. And we can also, with that corrective action, go to the local school board to report on the action taken by the state.
What was the basis for the referral of the noncompliance to the Office of Accreditation?
The continued non-compliance for more than 12 months.
What must the Jackson Public School District do in order to be compliant with the special education federal requirement?
Each area of non-compliance that was identified in the original findings and decision, each area will have to be resolved. And there were 10 specific findings that all deal with the free appropriate public education, including providing appropriate levels of related services, functional behavior assessments, behavior intervention plans, updating and revising IEPs as needs occur, determining whether students' behaviors are the result, if their disability is the result of behaviors that have been exhibited that would result in suspension or removal from the school setting, providing educational benefits to students, complying with all other IEP requirements to align student academic goals and objectives to their levels of performance, to consider the need for positive behavior interventions and supports, and to address the lack of academic and behavioral progress, to provide those services in the least restrictive environment, and to address appropriate transition plans for students, to provide extended school year services for students, and to ensure that transfer students have a current IEP that is comparable to the services previously received prior to transferring to the district. So those are the 10 major areas that were in the initial report. And none of these issues have been resolved yet.
Will the JPS be able to be compliant with these federal regulations by the end of this school year?
We do not have the final report from the follow-up visit that was conducted last week. My conversation with the team on that visit last week indicates...
I'm going to object to any information regarding anything that has happened prior to us being notified of the issues before this hearing. So we're certainly not privy to anything that has happened just last week. That's not in evidence, and I think it would be inappropriate for it to be discussed with this commission prior to us knowing what this monitoring team saw when they came to the district. So I would object to her testifying based on what she understands they found.
Ms. Butler, would you want to follow that?
Yeah, I'll be glad just to reword the question to...
Reword the question, and before you begin to answer, let us decide if we want to renew his objection.
Based on your review of the past 12 months and the latest report that has been provided to the district, which was issued in January 2012, will JPS be able to be compliant with the federal regulations by the end of the school year?
And my objection would be renewed as long as her, but will not, I would withdraw that objection as long as her response is only pertaining to the documentation that's contained in this information that we've been provided here and the commission has been provided.
Okay. So, Ms. Butler, do I understand your question that you're asking the witness whether or not, based on the information she has now, will be able to come into compliance?
Right.
And is the information that she has, is that information something that the school district has been made privy to?
They have.
Okay. Well, Mr. Keith, then...
But my objection is we have not been made privy to this latest visit. No, we have not. We don't have that information. So we don't, and she said that she was going to testify regarding what this latest visit revealed. And we don't have that information. So that's my objection. We're kind of caught blind here, and I don't think it's fair to hold us accountable for something that they found last week or week before last.
The question specifically limited to everything that they already have in the latest report in January 2012, which the school district has a copy of.
And I have no objection to her answering it based on that input.
Okay, well, with that in mind, let's make her question based on information that she had as of January 2012.
The district has done a lot of work to establish policies and procedures, and they've done a lot of work to address professional development. The issues have been implementing those at each and every school level. So, yes, they've done a lot of work and they've made progress, but until the policies and procedures are being implemented fully across the district, then the district will not be able to address all the needs of all the students.
No further questions. Ms. Moore, at this time.
A couple of questions. Ms. Ward, has the U.S. Department of Education taken any action against the state of Mississippi as a result of Jackson's noncompliance today?
Not at this time. And the way that the reporting works, we're always a year behind. So this continued noncompliance for this one district will not be actually evaluated until February 2013 when we submit our annual report.
And I believe you made a comment a moment ago that the district has done a lot of work with regard to policies and procedures, but you do agree that it is an implementation issue at this point, that you've got to see at the State Department implementation at the school level.
Right. At the administrative level, and I'm not sure how many schools are in JPS, 50 plus, I understand.
Sure.
And you're dealing with that many schools and administrators, and then that many school staff. So it is a massive issue.
No question about that. But implementation at this point in time is what you're really concentrating on, because you and the department will see the results at the school level.
Yes, sir.
And as I appreciated your information is a sampling of each students where you have found some non-compliance issues that have made you believe that there are systemic issues that do need to be addressed, correct?
Yes, so the nature of the complaint included 9 specific named petitioners and all other similarly situated cases.
Correct. So there were 9 initial students. I don't think there are that many left in the system, but there's still some of the initial complaints, right?
Correct.
Who brought the original complaint against the school district? Was it Southern Poverty?
I believe it was Southern Poverty, but I'll have to check the official state complaint and see.
Right, okay. And you mentioned the compliance issues. You're talking about compliance with the mandates of IDEA and those regulations that you pointed out to us that are about 3 inches thick in this book, right?
Yes, sir. State Road Policy 7219.
So when you find the district in non-compliance, it's in non-compliance with a requirement in that particular policy, and then the corrective action plan is to try to get the district to implement programs, procedures, and methodologies to address those issues. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that's the process that JPS is in at this current time? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct? Okay, no further questions for this witness.
And how long have they been in that process, Ms. Moore?
Since we identified the non-compliance in November 2010, and the district submitted its first improvement plan in December 2010.
I have no further questions of this witness.
Step down, and Ms. Butler, you can announce your next witness, and someone will get that person.
Dr. Lynn House.
Good morning.